Hello, Fearless Gamers! Matt here for Fearless Games, and today I'm doing another entry in the Book Corner. And today's book review is going to be of Titanicus by Dan Abnett. This is the story of a forge planet that is under siege by a Chaos Titan Legion. All hope seems to be lost as every defense that the planet has is thrown at the Titans and seems to not stop them one bit. But hope comes in the form of a passing Titan Legion that answers the call for help. They go down to the planet and swear by their honor that they will rid the planet of the traitor Legion for good. This is a story of Titan on Titan action, where the god machines of the Mechanicum face off against the treacherous demons of the Dark Mechanicum. Now, this book is constantly joked about being really, really long. And it is. It is a really long read, but a very good read. This is a story that shows, in my opinion, just how great of an author for 40K stuff Dan Abnett is. The action is phenomenal, very high pace and very intense. You're always wondering just who's going to win. It's very much as if you're right there battling with your Titan Legion. You're never quite sure how things are going to turn out, and you're always rooting to see what happens next. The characters are actually well developed. There's one or two weak parts in it in terms of plot, and there's some parts where I was just like, oh, get on with it! But it didn't ruin my enjoyment of the story. Again, there was a couple, like I said, there were a few weak characters in some points of the story where it was like, yay, we're learning more what's happening to them, but it never felt unnecessary, I guess. But then again, when you get to the Titan parts and you're just like, yeah, you're so pumped up, you just get upset when they leave and they talk about other stuff not relating to the Titans. You're just like, no, go back to the Titan battles, that part was awesome. And it is high intense action that really shows what it means to battle what it means when Titans battle each other. And I'm not just talking warhounds or reavers. There are warlords in this story, and it is phenomenal. You get an idea of how the Titan crews work with each other, their personalities, and how I believe it's pronounced Preneps, I believe is how it's pronounced. I could be wrong on that. How their personalities start altering as they stay longer connected to their Titans, and just how grueling Titan War can be, and just how they're viewed by people. And also an interesting bit is you get a nice insight to the Mechanicum and their feelings about their allegiance with the Imperium, and how it's not a perfect relationship and not everyone is happy about it. And you also get a nice feel of people's general view of members of the Mechanicum and how they feel about them and how they interact with them, and how the Mechanicum views Imperials. Really great story. Great, I keep repeating myself because it's just so phenomenal of how this goes. If there was any bad part of the story, it was that there are some bits that I felt were unnecessary in terms of there were certain characters where like there was one character that's kind of off on the side and you're seeing their perspective, and I felt like there was a plot point put in with him, or like a side plot point put into him that I didn't really think was necessary at all, and it felt like it was just something to go to break up the action. There was a couple of story pieces in here that did slow down the pace a little bit and kind of but again, I think the major problem with these scenes were they were put in during after Titan fights, so you're so pumped up on what just happened in the Titan battles that the next scene, the next chapter or so, just seems to be like, oh, when are they gonna battle Titans again? But again, doesn't detract from the story, doesn't make it a bad story or an uninteresting story at all. In fact, these parts make the Titan battles that much more enjoyable, because when they start once you start seeing happening again, you're getting back on the edge of your seat, your blood is pumping, and you just gotta see what happens next. And that's what makes, in my opinion, a good story. One that when the action starts going, you don't want it to stop. So what's neat, the only thing that's a little iffy for new readers or stuff like that is there's a lot of techno-babble jargon that may be a little confusing. There was one part that was a little confusing to me, mainly because the title, they mention a War Master, and I was like, does that title still exist? And wait, is this heresy? Like, I was not entirely sure about that, but that's because my, I'd say I'm an entry to mid fluff when it comes to fluff knowledge, so it may be something that's just over my head. There is a couple of technobabble jargon stuff that some people may be just like, what about, but again, it doesn't detract from the story. It's just simply, that sounds complicated and important, I wish I knew what it meant. But again, doesn't detract from the story at all. There's never a time where I was confused as to what was going on in terms of who was fighting who was doing what was happening, why things were bad, why things were good. Nothing ever like that. And I never had a point where I was not sure of who was who, or who was whom in the story, at all in this, because it was always very clear-cut, and the names are always properly used throughout the story to help me identify with them, so when I heard their name again, I was able to remember what they were doing last. That is, at one point, there is, again, this one character, where this one bit, which I think was a little pointless. He didn't show up for a while in the book, and then we'd cut to him, and so I had to take a moment to realize who he was. Thankfully, there's usually one sentence that kind of indicates exactly who he is and reminds you of what's going on with this character. But again, it just seemed unnecessary to throw this part in. And there was actually another character. He seems pointless, but it was a great insight to just average citizens. Non-workers or warriors, just an average dude who just happens to be in a Forge World planet. Great insight to how these guys think, and how these guys view, and how war affects them, which is a great look. It gives you a nice, great insight of both the Imperial, the Mechanicum, and the Imperial citizen during wartime. So, yep, so to round it out, great action, great story, couple of bad patches here and there, but nothing to detract from the book's quality. The language can be a little difficult to understand for some who are not really familiar with the Imperium, with the 40k lore, but an overall read, enjoyable for any. If you like giant robots battling it out with each others, this is a book for you guys. And so that is all. Thank you all for listening. If you have your own comments or reviews about the book, drop a comment in the description here. Just be respectful of other people's opinions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe us. That way you get an idea. That way you know when new videos come out, and our videos spread out and more people get to see them. If you haven't already yet, check out our Facebook. There's a link in the description. You get little news tidbits, tips of the day, if we remember to do a tip of the day, fun caption contest every so often, and we always that's where we throw out our most important bits. Like, if there's a good example is the Dornpore videos, that's when we announce when they're going to be showing up. That way you get an early inside info as to that type of stuff. And that's all for right now. Again, thank you all for watching, and until next time, fearless gamers, take care.